Hello Leeds, how are you doing this week? Well, I hope. Clean hands, being safe. On this week's episode of Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary Episodes, I very much enjoyed chatting to Vicky Ackroyd from Totally Inclusive People. She is an audio describer, she writes plays for stage and radio, and she works with Mind the Gap Theatre. Have a listen. This week on the Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary Episodes, my guest is Vicky Ackroyd. Hello, Vicky.
Hello, nice to be here.
Thank you so much for remotely connecting with me, as we have to do these days.
You do, I can't even see your face.
So, Vicky, you are involved in Totally Inclusive People. Can you describe to me and everyone at home what that is?
Of course, yes. So, basically, Totally Inclusive People is a way to access everybody so that we can get involved with generally art stuff and just make things really inclusive. Now, that might be delivering training sessions around disability equality and awareness, or it might be working with theatre companies or artists to just ensure that the work they're doing considers access in a really broad way. So it could be adding some sensory elements in, all sorts of things like that. So it's quite diverse, lots of opportunities, which makes it just really interesting.
Yeah, and so do you deliver training as well to companies along those lines?
Yes, so I deliver that alongside artists and trainers, co-facilitators with learning disabilities as well. So I don't do that just on my own. So I deliver it alongside. So people are really getting an idea of what it means to sort of live with an experience of having a learning disability as well.
Yeah. And how did you get involved in that in the first place?
Well, it was when I was teaching. I used to teach at what was Park Lane College, now Leeds City College, and I got thrown in at the deep end actually, and was just working with a group of learners with additional needs, and just loved it. So then I ended up going to Mind the Gap Theatre Company. They're based in Bradford, and running their training stuff. So, and then I ended up I was at Park Lane College, then at Mind the Gap, and then set up my own company, which is Purple Patch Arts, delivering creative education for adults with learning disabilities across Yorkshire. Mm-hmm. So, and then just sort of thought, right, I'm going to go freelance. Purple Patch is still going, which is brilliant, and just sort of went solo.
Oh, that's great. And so you've never looked back, really?
Well, it's quite a recent thing. I've never been freelance before, so in actual fact, it's been quite a shock to the system.
Yeah.
So that's only 3 years, but it's been really exciting. And sometimes you've just got to challenge yourself, haven't you? No point in just keeping going, doing what you've always done. So mixing it up a little bit. So it's been brilliant, and I've been very lucky. I've had some really interesting opportunities, and I've loved it. I'm loving it.
It must be a very rewarding job as well, because you're making life better for so many people.
Of course, yes. I think what's great about it is it's just interesting, because meeting lots of different people, and that's what I find really exciting. Making a difference is obviously part of it, and it's championing that sense of equality and inclusion in small ways, in big ways, in everyday ways as well. So yeah, I really enjoy it. It's great.
And you've also, are you still an audio describer?
I am, yes. So that's part of, I think it's the fashionable way to say it, is it's having a portfolio of. So that's kind of what I have. So yes, I do audio descriptions. So I do that at various theatres and with various companies. So I'm part of the team at Leeds Playhouse, Harrogate Theatre, Darlington, Hippodrome, and I've done that for 11 years, and that started because I was made redundant, actually. And so it's an opportunity that came up, which I leapt on, and I've never looked back again. It's been brilliant.
Yeah.
I get to see loads of theatre, and I work with other companies as well to explore their audio description. It's just such a fascinating way to be part of theatre as well. I love it.
Yeah, I bet. And also just like the whole communication aspect. I think that's fantastic. I think, I don't know if it was you or not, but I saw, when I went to go and see Wizard of Oz, there was an audio describer. And it was just
me. That was one of the team, yes.
Ah, right. Well, I just thought it was absolutely fascinating and amazing. My niece's friend, she's studying sign language at university, and I remember telling her, or telling Mia, you should mention that to her niece. It looks like a great thing to get into.
So, I mean, and sign language is fascinating. What's different about audio description is that you don't see me. You will hear me. So
I think I've got a misunderstanding about that then, right?
You're not the first. Lots of it. I think it's because we're not seen. So essentially, audio description is as I describe it as the translation between a visual experience and translating that into an audio experience. So I will describe, and you're listening in on a pair of headsets.
Right.
I'll describe what's going on stage. And you don't describe the sort of minutiae, but it's describing the detail and the flavours and the textures of what's going on stage. So that the person listening actually gets a real sense of what's happening.
So it's more for sort of visually impaired people?
Yeah, it is.
I see, all right, I completely misunderstood. Of course, audio describer, I should have thought of that.
It happens a lot, yeah.
It must be quite a skill.
Oh, I'm very skilled, very. Yes, absolutely. So, well, I think I was. I had a great opportunity. I was trained by Vocalise, which are a company in London. So they do all the audio description for the National and the RSC and all the big cheeses in theatre. And they ran a project called See a Voice 11 years ago, and that was about getting more audio description into theatres, into the regions. So it was just a lucky accident actually that I happened to get onto that, because they've stopped that project now. So that was great. It was great. So that it's just really nice being able to work with other companies as well and just explore access and inclusion in a broader way, not necessarily just audio description.
Yeah, and so is it when you get the script of a play? Do you have to have seen the play first so that you can describe everything that's being seen?
Yeah. So the process is I'll go and see the play. And then I'll get a DVD of the play as well and work on it around the script. I'll have a copy of the script too. Because what you don't want to do is be clumping all over the dialogue.
Yeah.
Interrupting it, probably very irritatingly, by saying, she's wearing a margarine-coloured dress or whatever. So
yeah.
It's that delicate balance of being able to talk about what's going on, but in amongst the dialogue. So the play still has to be the thing, isn't it? It's not a radio show. it's absolutely about supporting the action.
That must be a real fine line to tread.
It is, and what's interesting at the moment, there are some directors really exploring the use of audio description in a creative way rather than just using it as an access tool. So Amy Leach at Leeds Playhouse, for instance, is really working on just exploring how to bring sign language and audio description and integrating it into the show, so that you don't have to wear headsets to listen, because the minute you put a pair of headsets on, you're sort of slightly separated, aren't you, from perhaps from your friends who you've gone to the theatre with, or so and that's very exciting, just seeing audio description as a creative layer rather than just an access tool.
Yeah, that is really fascinating. I read on your website that you have also written and write plays for stage and radio.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at Leeds City College, I keep wanting to call it Park Lane, it's not anymore, is it? So when I was at Leeds City College and working with students, I found a lot of the shows that the sort of written plays were quite inaccessible. Either there were just so many words it was difficult to learn, or they were a bit childish. So I just started writing my own. So it just felt like a way to be able to create work for people with learning disabilities and adapt work as well. So I did quite a lot of adapting of texts like Under Milk Wood and Canterbury Tales, which are very definitely adult. There's no way you could misinterpret them as being for children.
No.
It's a big bugbear of mine is that people with learning disabilities can sometimes be infantilized. So exploring adult issues, adult themes I think is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And out of everything that you've written, what would you say you're most proud of?
Probably my adaptation of Undermilk Wood. I was really proud of that just because it worked, and I was very lucky. Inevitably, I was really lucky with the group of students that I was working with at the time. I have to also say I was really lucky that I got on one of the creative writing courses at Slum Low, and I got to do one of their 15 minutes live plays. They have it's called 15 minutes live, and you write a 15 minutes radio play, and then it's recorded live in front of an audience as well. So I got to do one of those, and that was possibly the most thrilling thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
And what was that one about?
Well, the moment I try and make sure that all my writing has, when I say a disability focus, I don't mean it's all banging on about issues, but there's sort of just characters in there that are real, but might be able to bring a different spin to life. So this was about a woman who lived with a man who was not very nice, who had diabetes, and he refused to acknowledge it. He was pretty awful, so she was basically killing him with brownies. Just kept feeding him.
Right.
It was implicit rather than explicit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed writing it, and I was very pleased it got through. So.
Excellent. And you also did 10 years with the BBC, is that right?
I did, yes. So that was as a sort of researcher, but then I was a travel and weather presenter. So it's high class in radio. Radio. So yes, that was great fun. I had a really good 10 years.
Did you have to do the whole thing of standing in front of stormy seas and?
Certainly not. No, I was never on the telly. I was just on travel and weather, so I was behind a microphone. I was on the breakfast show as well. So rolling out of bed, bulletin at 6 o'clock in the morning, ringing around all the bus companies and the train and airports, etc., and then finding out what the traffic police, finding out where all the blockages are, etc. What I didn't know about the M62 wasn't worth knowing. I don't know anything about it now.
But at the time you were its expert.
Oh, I certainly was.
Can you tell me a little bit about the work that Mind the Gap Theatre do?
Sure. They're Europe's leading learning disability theatre company. So, and they do work with and for people with learning disabilities, and have a team of artists that they work with regularly. So the work that I do with them, I deliver a part of their academy team, and I deliver sessions for some of the students who come in who are just wanting to explore creativity. So what I do is quite a broad creative session. And I'm thinking about it now, of course. We usually do a whole day, but of course now we're doing things on Zoom, and I'm sending packs out. We've had to modify everything we're doing. They have a really strong academy in terms of creating training for people with learning disabilities, because there isn't very much training out there. If you're going to get really good representation on stage, on film, etc., you've got to have the training in place.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so it just makes sense, doesn't it? They're one of the few people that are doing it, as well as the amazing touring work that they do as well. I don't know if you managed to catch anything about Zara, which was the most one of the recent big pieces of work they did, which was this extraordinary spectacle that was at the Peace Hall in Halifax, and then went over to the Imperial War Museum in London, and it was an outdoor, an amazing spectacle of his theatre with so many cast members. It was really incredible, with this huge central character of a giant baby, four double-decker buses or something like that.
Wow.
So they're great. They're an amazing company.
I didn't manage to catch that, but that does sound pretty amazing. So I also read on your website that you actually entered Bake Off.
I did. I didn't get through. I did enter. I entered the second series.
Yeah.
I would have to say I am so relieved I didn't get through, because it's really hard now, isn't it?
It's unbelievably hard.
Oh, crikey, I wouldn't want to. People have been very sweet. Have said, "Oh, what about? Would you enter again?" I do enjoy baking, and absolutely, the answer is no. No way. I
When
would
you've seen the
never enter.
pressure, yeah.
Oh my word, yeah. Well, and actually, for me, baking is about sort of, and cooking generally is simple things done well, rather than spending, 12 years creating something delicate that's
Yeah.
shoved in a gob in 2 minutes. That doesn't make any sense to me, really. So.
I think also with all of those programs, like the sewing bee. I love the sewing bee. I love any of those sort of crafty kind of programs. But really, you'd never make a cake or a dress or anything under a time pressure like that. You'd be taking your time and want to make it perfect. So I always feel like I understand that they have to do that for the TV format, but I always think it's a little bit sad, really, because if people could have taken their time, they could have made something amazing. Yeah.
But where's the fun in that to watch?
Well, yeah, it would be very slow TV, wouldn't it?
I think so. Yeah. So, but I love watching it still. So I wouldn't want to. I've not fallen out with it or anything.
Oh no, yeah.
Just no, and I love the sewing bee as well.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I'm going to miss it when it's done. How have you been coping yourself, Vicky, during this whole weird situation that we're all in?
Well, as an audio describer, of course, all my work stopped immediately because all the theatres were shut. So I had a very dicey couple of weeks thinking, oh, crikey, what on earth is going to happen? What will become of me?
Yeah.
But in actual fact, so the work I do with Mind the Gap, as I say, has been translated from the live to the digital, which has been just a saving grace, really. It's been great, as well as the session I mentioned earlier, also doing a doodle book session, which is great about exploring different artists, and then creating this doodle book just to put shapes and lines on pages, and so that you continue to be a creative being rather than being able to actually perhaps be an artist who might perform.
Yeah.
Those opportunities are different, so just maintaining that creativity. So that's been a fantastic thing to do. So I've basically spread the work out over the week so that I've got a reason to get up every day. Sit in my pajamas. So I found that useful, and I haven't been able to see my grandchildren. That's been really hard.
Yeah.
That I've done storytelling, or reading stories online. But I mean, how amazing has the digital sort of platform been?
I know.
It's just been brilliant.
Yeah,
that's what's been helpful.
Yeah, I think it just makes you think about, if this had happened at another time in history and we hadn't had the internet and all these ways of connecting with people, it could have been a very different story, couldn't it?
It really could, yeah. So, and I don't think anybody's having an easy time, but clearly some people are having, a really difficult time. So I think I just feel very, really lucky that actually things are okay. Yeah. I've done fine.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Have you always lived in Leeds?
No. I was born in Bradford, so I've done a bit of a sort of a circuit and then arrived back in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
But I went to, I didn't go to university. I went to drama school in Bristol, and then was in Birmingham for a bit, and then came back to Leeds. So I've spent most of my time in Yorkshire, and certainly the last 30 years in Leeds. So I'm pretty much fixed in Leeds.
And what would you say is something that you would say is great about the city?
It's all the theatre. I mean, what a range of theatre we have. You might have expected me to say that. It's one of the only reasons I go into the centre of Leeds. I don't live in the centre, so and I just find there's such a fantastic range of stuff that you can see, from the big pizzazzy shows at the Grand to the interesting stuff that goes on at Leeds Playhouse, etc. So I just find it, and things like smaller companies like Flung Low, who are bringing things in and providing opportunities for new writers and new directors and smaller companies. It's just an exciting place to be, I think, from a theatre perspective.
Yep, I completely agree. And what would you say is something that you think is not so great about the city of Leeds?
Well, bizarrely, the access to said theatre. I think, everything from practically being able to get in to ticket prices, really inaccessible. And just think it's really interesting because I audio described Zara. This is a show that Mind the Gap did that I mentioned before, and I had and it went online, so people could share it. So during the lockdown, it went online along with the audio description, the audio described feed as well, and over 600 people listened to that. Online.
Wow.
And that's more than I think anybody's ever listened to my any audio description I've ever done in the previous 11 years in live theatre. So there's a disconnect there, isn't there, in terms of being able to make sure that people with visual impairments, perhaps people who need sign language, if they're not able to get into the theatres for whatever reason, it might be transport links, it might be support, who knows? But there's a disconnect there, and something's going a bit wrong in terms of being able to make sure all that great theatre is actually accessible to as many people as possible. So,
who would you speak to sort of get the ball rolling with sorting that out? Then would you have to sort of be talking to Leeds City Council as well as the theatres? And
I think it's a joined up conversation with a whole load of people. Actually, I think the theatres are really, certainly before lockdown, were really engaging with the idea that access was critical, and it makes sense. People can come in and see shows, so they can then advocate for them, and so economically it makes sense as well. It's not like it's just the right thing to do, which often people nod and put that face on, don't they? Well, it's the right thing to do, but it's not just the right thing to do. It's essential if we're going to include everybody in this conversation. So it's conversations over, and part of the problem with lockdown as well is that potentially those people who might use those services are shielding, or they might be the last to come out. So the progress that's been made, there's a worry that might be halted. So just trying to keep those conversations alive with
of course,
the networks that I'm part of, and I know other people are doing the same. I think it's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, and if somebody was a long-term resident of Leeds, would you be able to tell them about something that you would consider to be a hidden gem that they may never have heard about?
Well, do you know, I'm just going to go food, I'm afraid. So, and I have only been here a couple of times, and I absolutely loved it. It's Gino's Thai Cafe in Headingley.
I don't think I've tried that. But I love Thai food.
Oh, it's amazing. It's only small. It's just on that big crossroads as you're sort of heading towards the parade of shops. Absolutely great. Lovely. So I'd say definitely try there if you like Thai.
That is a good recommendation. Where it feels safe for me to travel around again, I shall get myself there.
might be a while yet.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. I'm waiting and seeing what's happening. So I always invite, I always have a track by a Leeds-based artist or musician on at the end of every episode, but I always ask guests in case they know anybody. And your daughter has supplied the wonderful track this week.
She certainly has, yes. She's Annie Griffiths. She obviously Leeds born. She actually lives in Newcastle now, so I hope I'm not cheating. But,
no, it's fine.
She does come home. Not at the moment, though. Clearly, not at the moment. So yes, this was from an album that she made, and it's really a personal album about her own struggles with mental health. So it's quite brutal and it's honest, and it's been a hard listen for me, as a parent, sort of listening to all of that, trauma and difficulty.
Yeah.
I hope that you'll make everything delightful for your children. Of course, you can't do that, can you?
No.
But it's been a wonderful cathartic way for her to feel better. And,
Yeah.
you know, and she does, and that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's
really proud of her.
Yeah, it's a really great song. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, great, thank you.
What will you be doing with the rest of your afternoon?
Well, do you know, I'm going to be continuing to write my session for next week. I love writing these because I don't know if you knew, but it's World Yoga Day on Sunday.
I didn't know that.
Well, there you are. Your life's bright. So I'm going to be writing create lots of resources about yoga, and I've sent off some herbal tea bags, so we'll get a herbal tea bag next week, and hopefully we'll all feel super chilled and relaxed.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
By doing it, I will too.
Let's hope so. Thank you again for coming and talking to me. It was really lovely to hear you.
Oh, it's nice to be here. Thanks so much, Hazel.
It was great to chat to Vicky and hear about the brilliant work Totally Inclusive people are doing. Vicky chose a track by her daughter, Annie Griffiths, who has a beautiful voice. The song is called Online. Enjoy!
You go online enough again, but maybe